If 10 people vanished from a moving vehicle today, leaving the engine running and the doors unlocked, we would struggle to find a logical explanation. On December 4th, 1872, that exact scenario was found drifting in the Atlantic. The Mary Celeste was under full sail, moving with the current, yet completely devoid of life. There was no blood on the deck and no sign of a struggle. The manifest listed 10 souls: Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 7 sailors. All of them had disappeared without leaving a single word behind. 10 people walked away from a ship that was still floating. They abandoned their security for a small boat, choosing the hazards of the open Atlantic over the safety of their own deck. This behavior contradicts everything we know about Captain Benjamin Briggs. He was a veteran mariner, a devout man, and someone who built his career on being methodical. He was not a man who took unnecessary risks. The voyage began without a hint of trouble. New York Harbor was busy, the weather was holding, and Briggs had vetted his crew personally. There were no recorded conflicts and no mechanical failures. A risk-averse captain does not abandon a seaworthy vessel on a whim. To see him leave his ship is to see a man acting against every instinct he possessed. After nearly a month at sea, the crew of the Dei Gratia spotted the Celeste drifting. They signaled, but the silence from the other deck was total. When the boarding party stepped onto the wood, they found a ship perfectly capable of finishing its journey. It was taking on some water, but it was nowhere near sinking. The only structural change was at the railing. The lifeboat was missing, and the ropes used to secure it had been sliced through with a blade. Below deck, the domestic life of the Briggs family remained frozen. Food was still on the table. Sarah's sewing machine sat exactly as she had left it, with the thread still taut and mid-stitch, suggesting she expected to return in seconds. The crew took their navigational tools and the chronometer, but left behind jewelry and a significant amount of cash. They were preparing for a journey in a lifeboat, not fleeing from a thief. The logbook provides a timestamp for the disappearance. The final entry was made on November 25th, 9 days and 500 miles before the ship was eventually found. The missing tools and untouched valuables suggest a migration, not a massacre. They left under their own power, trading the security of a sturdy hull for the uncertainty of the open Atlantic. When the ship reached Gibraltar, the investigation was led by Frederick Flood. He immediately looked for a villain, suspecting the crew of the Dei Gratia of mutiny and murder to claim the salvage reward. Flood pointed to brownish stains on the deck as blood and cuts in the hull as evidence of a sword fight. Experts later proved the stains were mere rust, and the marks were common wear from the sea. Without an official explanation, the story drifted into the realm of myth. For decades, the public entertained theories of pirates, fearsome sea monsters, and giant squid. The physical evidence dismantles these stories. Pirates do not leave behind cargo worth a small fortune, and a monster would have left the ship in splinters. Focusing on monsters ignores the psychology of the man at the wheel. Briggs needed a reason to leave, a threat that made the open ocean look safer than his own ship. The danger was hidden in the hold. The Mary Celeste was carrying 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, a volatile substance that reacts poorly to the heat and motion of a long voyage. As barrels shifted in rough seas, some likely leaked. In the unventilated hold, that liquid turned into highly flammable vapor. The smell of those fumes signaled a catastrophe. Briggs was standing on a giant bomb, where a single spark could end everything. We can see the logic of his final command: get everyone into the lifeboat, tie it to the main ship with a tow line, and wait for the fumes to clear. A shift in the wind or a sudden swell put impossible pressure on that single rope. The line holding them to their ship gave way. The crew was left in a small boat, unable to catch a ship under full sail. They watched as their home moved away from them, leaving them stranded in the deep water. The Mary Celeste remains a legend because the empty deck invites a ghost story. But the tragedy itself sits in a simple physics problem: a cautious captain, a building pressure in the hold, and a tow line that failed.